Hi everyone, today I have with me David Blake, CEO of Degreed. David will be speaking at our upcoming conference, New Directions in Online Education, happening March 31st through April 2nd in Boston. Welcome, David.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Hey, we're glad to have you as well. So you'll be leading a session called Jailbreaking the Degree, Credentials as Currency and the New Alternatives. So can you give us a little idea about what you guys do at Degreed and how it aims to shake up higher education?
Yeah, so our mission at Degreed is to jailbreak the degree, which is where that verbiage come from. And when we talk about it, it really is this concept of being more inclusive of our learning. And right now, when you ask anyone, tell me about your education, they will, inevitably tell you what degree they got or where they went to university. But college and university really is the only tool and kind of credential that we have to communicate learning. And so when we say jailbreaking the degree, we're talking about a more modular approach, the ability to capture everything you do to learn, both inside, academia and university, as well as professionally, as well as informally, and being able to measure it all comprehensively and holistically.
Great, great. So I know that one of the things that we're talking about, the degree being like that foundational part that people, the go-to that people talk about, even within that, if you sort of look how that's comprised, degrees are often made up of the credit hour, this idea that was introduced more than a century ago and has been sort of the go-to credential in determining if someone does or does not earn a college degree. So are you thinking that, are we seeing a change of heart in how we structure and credential like college education, college degrees, or even the need for college degrees?
Yeah, I think definitely. And I would say, proof of that being first the shift towards competency-based education. And so I'd say, Western Governors is really kind of the pioneer there, but we've seen both the emergence now of new universities along the competency-based model, as well as, seat-based credit hour universities shifting towards competency-based models. And so I think, the interest is definitely there. Further, we're seeing, just huge growth in executive ed and certificate programs, universities that traditionally had nothing outside of full degree programs are beginning to offer ad hoc courses and certificate programs, non-degree learning. So
Getting into sort of, you were talking about the certificates there, and that is a big shift that we've been seeing. A lot of the colleges, online universities and colleges that come to our events are offering those certificate programs. So can you talk about that, a little bit more about the move away from the traditional degree and how this move into a certification type of model fits into what you guys are doing at Degreed?
Yeah, I mean, we're really encouraging and like to see that shift, in part because, measuring the world's learning is a difficult chore and undertaking. And so as the actual universities and educational providers do package up their offerings in more modular approaches, it is actually very facilitating to the ability to be inclusive of everything that is measured on Degreed. And so, I think further for the students, it's also very enabling. We live in a world where the knowledge base is shifting very rapidly, very quickly. Learn, fill your well so you can draw on it for the next, 30, 40 years. Kind of that model's going away, that we're shifting towards the need for that real-time, on-demand learning. And I think, these breaking down from these big units into these smaller units is a great shift, not only for the universities, the ability to, have an ad hoc, more flexible set of offerings. I think we will see the demand continue to grow there. It's great for the students because it gives them a more flexible approach. It's meeting the needs that the economy, has kind of just demands of us anymore. And it's great towards our mission of being able to measure all of this.
Great, great. I want to get into some of the more specifics. I was looking at your profile on Degreed and seeing all the different things that you can sort of account for as part of this sort of holistic approach to lifelong learning. So I know that, like we've talked about, traditional college degree, we've talked about certification programs, ad hoc classes that you're taking, but also I noticed things as simple as like articles you've read about a specific topic can really be foundational to your knowledge in a certain area. So can you talk about the kind of other things that are getting pulled into this sort of global approach to learning?
Yeah. So so first, articles and videos and books and papers and research papers and events and conferences and open badges and training and professional certificates, experiential learning, university courses, undergrad and graduate. Those are all there, or will be shortly, and yet that isn't the end of the list. We are still categorically working through things. Language learning is an area we're working on. We still have progress to go on the professional certificate side, but that vision is any way you learn to be able to be captured and reflected in your degree profile. And I'd say further, people are sometimes a little bit surprised when you step from, a 4-year degree that is, a huge undertaking and is a very large accomplishment, and go all the way down to an article. It feels, arbitrary and asinine to think that, reading a singular, New York Times article is somehow material to my education. To which I would largely agree, but when you think about credentials, they are a signal, and they carry with them an enormous amount of context. I can say, I graduated from Brigham Young University in economics with a 3.9 GPA. I can say it in about 10 seconds, and you have an enormous context for what I mean. It carries an enormous signal with it. And I would say, similarly, there's great power, great signal. If I tell you I read The Economist daily, and you tell me that you read, the Chronicle of Higher Education daily, that carries with it also quite similarly, an enormous amount of context, a pretty strong signal, and it is really quite informing of who you are, what your interests are, what you're staying fresh and around. And so we believe even the small things, when aggregated up, if as we do our job well, there is a lot of signal and power in aggregating the small things up and kind of breaking the big things down into these more modular, micro credentials.
Great, great. I want to sort of flip our focus a little bit to our other area that we cover at Corporate Learning Network, being corporate learning. And I know, so you guys are kind of, you would sort of fall under the vein of something that's a big discussion point now in corporate learning, which is the learning record stores. So we've already talked about the move from, online colleges to offer more certificates. There's this move now in corporate learning of not just assessing what you're getting from the LMS, but what you're also getting from a learning record store. And then there's, you guys offering sort of the startup perspective from Degreed. So I'm wondering, taking all that into account, is the idea of this accounting for lifelong education something that's getting more attention and more weight right now?
Yeah, I would say definitely so. I would say, the learning record store, its emergence, it's becoming a buzzword, which is, it's been around for a while, but it's actually becoming, kind of surfacing as a topic in an area of focus and attention and innovation. And I'd say historically, that concept of a learning record store still lived inside, your LMS or outside as a learning record store, but in a siloed environment. It was my employer and the corporate training program that had a learning record store. And I think the shift we're seeing is these siloed walls are coming down. And so the concept of our ability and the breadth of what we can gather, is becoming holistic. And that's the vision of Degreed, is to be your learning record store that spans all silos, all systems, all stages of your life, to be able to gather it all into a comprehensive record of your lifelong learning.